What is going on? What is going on, YouTube? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Make sure on your way in, drop a like, subscribe, all the good stuff. Say what's up. We're gonna get active tonight. It's gonna be a lit one. This one is definitely gonna be one that I think a lot of people could relate to. Not only, what's in the title, Gen Z, but I do think that there's gonna be a lot of people that somewhat feel like a lot of the incentives that were once there, moving forward in life, all this other stuff has started to make you question, especially with how a lot of the corporations have been moving lately. A lot of, how the news and media and how much media we are able to consume at one time. I think it starts to affect people in a certain way and can lead to a certain mindset going forward. But yeah, man, World Cup is looking crazy. A lot of great soccer. Honestly, I haven't seen, maybe it's because I haven't been tapped into soccer as much in the recent years. Ever since I stopped playing FIFA 2016, I think that was when I kind of tapped out of soccer a little bit, just because FIFA was the main game that was keeping me into it and making me want to watch it on like a relatively regular basis. But the soccer has been great, football, right? Has been great in this World Cup. It definitely has been some good matches. I know this was like a couple of games ago, but all the matches, the only one that was a real disappointment was, at least recently, was the USA loss. That one was, wow. Like, the way that we got to the spot that we were in, it was like you really had the motivation and the energy. I really thought 2016 was going to be the engraved in stone year, similar to, wait, did I say 2026, right? Was going to be similar to 2016. We're like, yo, these are one of these legendary years, man. Like every 10 years, you just get one of those legendary years where like the Knicks win the championship, US potentially winning the World Cup. Definitely made a name for ourselves in this one. But yeah, man, things have been moving, grooving, vibing, sliding. And in the video that I have for you today, there's going to be two videos, and they're both going to be related to Gen Z. We may play some Street Fighter or something along the lines later tonight, but we'll see how that goes. But the first video that I have for you guys is related to Gen Z and how, they're in a financial mindset that leads to a point where I think in years past it wouldn't have affected them as much, but now that money and the economy and the rate in which money is moving has been affected and has exponentially but also drastically increased over the last couple of years. Wealth building has increased over the last couple of years. It starts to create this mindset where people begin to say, you know what, like I'm going to leverage what I have now and hope for the best in the future, because the way that the market is moving at and how fast and how much money people are making, the pool in order to reach that wealth starts to get smaller and smaller for some people, and especially for the younger generation coming into the workforce, already struggling in just getting into the workforce in general in order to make, the means, and then understanding at a early time point that you're going to have a job and then probably some kind of side hustle, especially if you're going to want to make it and be successful, and money is a certain factor that's going to play a big role obviously in the next couple of years. And unless there's a reset, unless there's some kind of decline and then rebound, I think it's going to be that this mindset of YOLO and just doing what you want in the current moment is going to persist. If there isn't that rebound, isn't that reset, it's like almost going into a game where you start off, everybody's at like a relatively good point. Your armor and equipment is about equal, and the players around you aren't necessarily, they're beating you, but like you still have somewhat of a chance, right? You can see that there's light at the end of the tunnel, right? And now in the current economy, it's like someone put a glitch in the system, and now those that have wealth and had a little bit more time and the economy wasn't as bad, it boosted the system to where their armor, their equipment, and their loadouts are at a point where you're just like, yo, how in the hell am I gonna get to that? The same level grinding that they had to do, the glitch closed the door behind you, and now you have to do it. You have to do twice as much to get to the same level, right? So people at the end of the day start to realize like, yo, like, do I really want to continue in this game and fight just twice as hard to get to the boss, to get to that final destination? It's like, I don't know about that, dog. I don't know about that, dog. I mean, chilling here and kind of just, doing my thing and taking a day, one day at a time, and just saying YOLO from time to time. It may be nice. It may actually make the game fun. At least the game will be fun rather than being a long grind that I gotta hope that at the end of this tunnel is gonna be something that's worth achieving. I mean, you never know. The way the glitch changed the game up, you're almost like, what is going on here? How did I get left out this glitch? What's happening? So we're gonna get into the video. Let me switch this over. This is by Chris Williamson, and I think it's a podcast with Caleb Hammer. Both have great podcasts. Caleb Hammer is one that has a financial podcast, and he brings on people from many generations, just hundreds and hundreds of people that are just in insane debt, and trying to work out getting a budget out of them. But in order to, and this is this is probably my top financial book, The Psychology of Money. He targets the psychology of the individual and tries to get their psychology to change, and their mindset on money to change, because unless you hit that root problem and why you're spending this much money and why you think that you don't have to worry about saving or spending in the future, you're never going to get out that trap. You're just going to end up in the same position over and over and over again until you'll really dig yourself a hole too deep to where you can't outwork the debt that you're in, right? So having this mindset at one point can be fun, but at what point does it start to begin to say like, okay, like you still have to think about your future? I mean, technology and medicine is, accelerating relatively quickly, and we're starting to get new technology in medicine, new AI, and how it's going to affect the longevity of human life, right? So if you're spending your money in this way, yes, you only got one life and anything can happen, but at the same time, with the way that medicine and technology is, the average person is probably going to live a lot longer than previously. Plus, on social media, you're going to have a lot more things such as, the health tips, all the gym bros, like all the ways that you can eat food nowadays. Like everything is popping up on people's feeds that can either hurt them and make their lives shorter, or it can, if you leverage it properly, can definitely help you live longer. So having this mindset is definitely going to impact those, though. So let's see what they're
Gen Z borrowers are
about.
carrying more credit card debt than millennials did at the same age, despite growing up with more financial information than any generation before them.
Yeah.
98% of Gen Z say credit is important, but only 53% believe they have adequate access to it. And more than half of Americans have used buy now, pay later services. 59% of those users were Gen Z.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. Paying for Klarna, everything. It's a very Gen Z thing. Tap to pay. Super easy to use those. They're at every checkout for any concert you go to, pretty much anything you want to do. So that's not surprising. There is, I'm forgetting the term off the top of my head, but it's something like doom loop or something that a lot of Gen Z is kind of getting into, where mostly because of the information out there and the algorithms they find themselves in, they think everything's going to be so bad forever. Why not just spend the money?
So like you see, and even with that, right? And when he goes to like the tap to pay and all that, I'm actually thinking about it here. Like, I think, because when I'm thinking about money, it's like a video game, right? You have your currency in order to buy your armor, buy your loot, upgrade your character, and unless you feel like you're hitting a certain point in the game, you don't necessarily just want to spend your money however you want, because you know that at the end of the day, you may pick up a piece of armor, you may pick up an upgrade along the way that you're going to want to save that currency in order to leverage later on in the game when the game starts to get a little bit more difficult, right? And being stuck in that loop of it's just so easy to just upgrade and just to level up. Like, you're just gaining so much material and you tap to pay, just going. There's plenty of ways to make money nowadays, but if you just think that the money is going to last forever, it makes it very easy to just spend it.
Why not just put it on a credit card? So it makes sense.
It seems to me like a big part of it is people being so unsure about the future and feeling like things are not going to get better that, well, fuck it. It's almost like the end of days. There's this interesting story about during the Blitz in World War II in London, the amount of casual sex that people were having went through the roof, but lingerie sales stayed the same. And it was just, people thought, look, I might die tomorrow. It doesn't really matter about how sexy I look in bed. Let's just get down to it. And it's kind of the financial equivalent of that. I'm just going to dump it all, which is this weird sort of recursive system. It's this self-reinforcing mechanism that if you have negative information about the economy and about the quality of life for young people and about how hard you've got it and the fact that it's never going to get better, that encourages people to behave in a way that makes the thing true.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of wild. Like,
and it's reality.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
I also think that the incentives have been removed, right? So I think that when you don't have the incentive to, or at least the potential of an incentive where you can afford a house later on in life, right? Like, a lot of people that were in years prior to us were able to acquire housing around the time when Gen Z is starting to get into the workforce, right? Because a lot of these people generally, once you got out of college, you were somewhat guaranteed some kind of work right out of college, right? There was a gap between those that went to college and those that didn't. And now that everybody goes to college, that great advantage that a lot of people had in the past kind of disappears. And now it's not just about have you gone to college, it's about have you got work experience, have you studied in the relative field that you're trying to work in, as well as get experience through your studies. Like, it's not the same, because now your incentive is, okay, I got to work twice as hard, but I may not even guarantee the house that I want, or the living situation that I want, even just apartments. I mean, we've all seen the apartment prices, especially in New York. Obviously, New York's an anomaly, but across the nation, there has been an increase in rent, and people are starting to think like, yo, I can't even live on my own. Like, it doesn't necessarily make sense to live on my own and get my own spot, because doing so might actually cause me to spend way out of my budget. At least those that are thinking financially. So now you're saying, okay, well, I really now have two options now. It's either I just say YOLO and just spend the money anyways and still try and live the life that was there previously, or I adapt and change how I think about money and start to think long term and maybe make sacrifices that the previous generation didn't have to make, but with the position that you're in, you may have to make those sacrifices.
That kind of gets not made out of nowhere. There are real material changes, but it's certainly worsened.
And it's tracked. The University of Michigan does consumer sentiment survey, and I think they've done it since the 1980s. And right now is one of the 3 lowest we've ever had. I think it was right when COVID kicked off, the Great Recession, and now. But now's not even near Great Recession in any other indicator anywhere. It's not right when COVID kicked off, when everything shut down and no one knew what was going to happen. But consumer sentiment is basically at an all-time low.
What do you think's going on?
Well, we are stuck in those algorithms. You make money on negativity. Like, even I have a documentary channel, more of a passion project, not much of a moneymaker.
It's cool. I like it.
Oh, thanks. Called Front Page. Still getting the feel of it. But either way, I mean, the reality is the topics that are interesting to talk about are the more negative ones. Super positive content isn't as interesting to talk about for whatever reason. I'm not interested in learning about super positive, not interested in talking about super positive. So
it doesn't feel urgent.
No, exactly. So that's the information that's getting out there. And that's the information that catches people's attention, keeps them in the algorithm. So I'm not surprised at all. I mean, nightly news, other than one fluff piece, is usually just negative, negative, negative. Even about the heat outside, it's like the apocalypse. It's always just negative. So it's not surprising. That's what drives our attention. So it drives the algorithm. So,
I mean, negative conversations generally, negative things that are happening generally lead to conversation, right? Because at the end of the day, when it comes down to just, creating just ideas and philosophies, like generally negative information is going to lead to more of the conversation just because of and it always goes back to incentives, because people are like, yo, we got to get rid of this negative thing. I think humans naturally also just look to have comfort. And when you're always looking for comfort, you want to remove as much of the negatives as possible. So when you see the negative, you want to attack it. You want to get it, out of here and really start to motivate in just completely removing it. But the positive stuff, it can lead to conversation, but at the end of the day, you're only going to want to see that a couple times, and then you're like, all right, like, that's great, but what's really going on out here?
Consumer sentiment will, of course, be lower.
Right, and that is impacting people's behavior, which actually brings that reality, brings that imagination into reality, or brings the news feed into your finances. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, even though consumer spending is actually relatively healthy overall. Like, this isn't the best year in our economy, but it's also not even close to the worst year. Things are relatively healthy. There's some bad things, like I called out. There's the new graduates, bad job market for new graduates. And there's a lot of things at play there. There are a lot of things at play there. There's the nervousness of AI. There was the overhiring during the tech boom during COVID. They've cut back there. And if there's no people leaving their jobs voluntarily, there's no jobs opening, and the people that are leaving their jobs in tech are the one getting laid off, and they're not rehiring someone who's getting laid off. So those job openings that were there during the pandemic aren't there. So there's actual negative things happening right now, but it's not the overall economic situation. We're still having okay GDP growth, post-inflation. The war in Iran, done, allegedly. We'll see.
Is it?
He signed the idea of peace or something yesterday, and so did Iran, the leader of Iran.
Me. That's like a guy with erectile dysfunction saying, I've signed the idea of erection today.
Yeah.
Signed the idea of a penis. I want to get you to react to a financial case here. Can we pull up that TikTok, Jared?
I've had such a bad financial burden the last couple years. So after meeting with an attorney and doing lots of research, I realized that filing bankruptcy really isn't as bad as it's made out to be, and it was truly going to be my best bet. I decided to file Chapter 7, and truthfully, my consumer debt really is not that bad. A lot of people have it a lot worse financially, but for me, $91,000 was just too much. It was uncomfortable and I just wanted to get a fresh start. I moved to Texas directly after high school and I made a lot of very irresponsible decisions financially and really dug myself into a big hole of debt. I decided, let's go ahead and file bankruptcy. Let's give myself a clean slate. That way I can stop stressing and I can actually do better. Okay, just to keep...
Honestly, you would hope that most of that is the student loan debt, because to get to $91,000 in debt, and even then it's like, oh, like, how do you even get that deep at 22? What could you possibly need in your life that much that you need to be spending that much money by 22 years old? Like, where are your parents? Where are your parents? And even without your parents, like, I mean, not without them, but how did you end up spending anywhere near that kind of money? And I guess this kind of goes back to community and just structure and family. Like, there's no way that your father allowed this. And if it's not your father, whether it's your brothers or maybe a potential other relative in the family, a male figure, to tell you like, yo, like, why are you spending all this money? And there's plenty of women that are financially savvy as well. How do you get to this point? You have nobody. And also, like, and the negativity of the internet can play a factor in this, plus all the ads that are just unloading a clip on everything that you see. It's like, dang, well, can I get a break? Like, you gotta give me an ad every 5 seconds. Every 3 swipes has to be an ad. It's getting to a point where it's like, guys, like, come on. This is why I stay on YouTube, because there's no way I'm gonna be sitting here watching ads all day. And there's people that are doom scrolling, especially Gen Z, that are like, I just don't have the motivation and incentive to go and work. And they're doom scrolling and they're just seeing all these ads pop up in their face. And now they're like, well, I mean, I might as well buy this. This can make me happy. It's just that dopamine hit of just buying something new, something that you want, or something that you want and you think that you need. And it gives you that dopamine rush, gives you that dopamine hit. You set it up all new, whatever, and then boom. It's gone. It has no value anymore. And you're just racking up debt. Can't even pay for any of the things that you're buying. Makes absolutely no sense.
Be a little breakdown of the debt that I do have that totals up to the $91,300. I owe about $51,000 on the vehicle that I have. We did try selling that, trading it in, all that good stuff, but way too much negative equity to come out on top. I bought a motorcycle back in 2022. Thought that was a great idea.
Fucking Americans.
Sorry. What did she say? Go back. Sorry.
Not able to get what we owe out of it. And
Sorry. We have to go back and hear what else she had. That's insane.
Fucking Americans.
Still on that same thing. Tried selling it, not able to get what we in 2022. Thought that was a great idea.
Fucking Americans.
Still on that same thing. Tried selling it, not able to get what we owe out of it. And I do own a camper, and I owe about $13,400 on that.
She's retarded.
I live out of that camper because I can't afford a house. So I am keeping that since I do live in it. I have $2,200 worth of medical bills that I had no idea were in collections. And then I have $12,000 worth of student loans. However, those do not get forgiven with bankruptcy, so I will still continue that payment. And then I have about $7,700 worth of credit card debt, all coming into a grand total of $91,300.
First of all,
credit card
how much
debt.
was the credit card debt?
Continue that payment. And then I have about $7,700 worth of credit card debt, all coming into a grand total of $91,300.
First of all, okay, yes, it is harder to get into a home now. Yes, a large down payment is difficult to get to. Interest is not great on a house. How in the world does she think she's possibly going to... Sorry, I don't mean to scream at you. You're not a guest on my show. Why does she think... In what world does she think she is ever going to get to home ownership if she's getting camper, motorcycle, and a $50,000 car? $50,000 car when she's moving to a brand new state. This is so American. We are so debt brain broken. And she's actually right. I mean, bankruptcy is actually not that hard, not that brutal, a little expensive, but it's really not the worst. It fucks your credit for a bit, and it's not a good learning lesson. People usually end up in the same situation they are without changing their behavior before going through bankruptcy. So, but she is right on that. But how did she ever expect? She can't get sympathy of not buying a house if she's getting a camper, motorcycle, and car, of which minimum payments on the camper, on the motorcycle and car are likely over $1,000 together. Like $1,000 going against anyone's income, unless you're like in the top 1%, is going to aggressively prevent you from saving anything. Remember, she can get an FHA loan on her first house. She can get, what is that, as low as 1.5%, something like that, down on your first house. How was she surprised? You can't get anywhere.
It's that low right now.
And that also is really stupid, getting a trailer instead of renting an apartment, because she's getting debt on a depreciating asset. It's almost even worse because an expense could pop up, have to get new tires.
Right.
She has to pay rent anyway, likely to park somewhere and get the utilities plugged in.
Oh my gosh. That's even worse. Oh my gosh. So now you not only have to pay for, I mean, what you're paying for maintenance, obviously, on like your property, like it's all factored into one budget when you do like rent. But at the same time, it's like you're already paying, like, you're already gonna have to pay for the utilities, pay for everything. What sense did that even make? So she got what, 3 or 4 vehicles for almost $90,000. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, you can't even make that up. That's like spending all your money on one weapon with no armor, bro. Like, what are we doing? You're just running around naked at that point. Like, it makes absolutely no sense.
Most people have no idea where their testosterone levels sit. But what if I told you there was a solution? Something that identifies low T faster than I.
Listen, guys. We gotta make sure we're not making financial decisions like that. I mean, Caleb Hammer, he has like, and this was something that really is so entertaining to see, because the way that people even get into that, you just start to think like, So you sat there, you looked up the information, you researched it, you analyzed the whole situation, you looked at your bank account, and you said, I mean, I got $10,000 worth of credit here, but I got like $500 in the account. I mean, I could work it out. If I get like a $30, $40 a month payment, right? Plus all my other expenses, I could probably start making that work. And then you hit book. You don't think the government's gonna collect that, brother? You don't think they're gonna start like there's no future? You're just like, well, I mean, I got the credit here. I mean, why not? What's gonna happen in 10 years, bro? Like, what are you gonna do in like 20 years? You're just gonna carry that debt with you like this? Like, come on, guys. We gotta do better. Gotta do better. And like, I understand the negativity, the no incentives, and not being able to see the future, but at the end of the day, like, you literally just got out of college. How are you already starting negative health? You're basically starting negative health to start the game. And you have to fight your way just to start gaining your HP back. It makes absolutely no sense. Guys, we got to start doing better. Got to make sure we don't end up in positions like this. Make sure we save our money. Make sure you read the book Psychology of Money so that you don't have the mindset to just think that money is just whatever and it could just fall out your pocket, right? And understand how your mind works around money and leverage it rather than hinder yourself. Because at the end of the day, technology, medicine, life is going to keep moving on. You got to look at the brighter side of things and start looking to see where you can get little wins, but that don't cost you financially. Listen, guys, make sure you like, subscribe. As always, stay glitched out. And we're going to go to the next video. This one's going to be, it's going to be on in similar vein, right? And I know I had started off, with the financial side and saying that, we shouldn't be so caught up in the let me see. Actually, let's take like a quick second before we get into the next one. Hope you guys are enjoying. Hope you guys are vibing out right now. I've seen that Kai Cenat has gotten back into streaming again after doing all of the streamer university stuff. That's definitely been interesting. Dun, 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 dun. What's going on? What is going on? All right. So, in the next video that we're going to be watching is going to be how Gen Z has become unemployable, right? And this is where I think the idea of Gen Z having that YOLO mindset is where you start to say, like, you know what, I can see how it can be acceptable and why they end up in the position that they're in. And it starts to, and you know what it is, you really have to not blame the financial institutions, because obviously, you can't really put blame except on yourself to a degree. But there really is that incentive to want to just spend money and provide the currency in order for these, institutions to gain their power, right? And it's going to be at the cost of those that get manipulated by those institutions. And when you look at the opportunities that are in front of you and the credit that you could potentially gain and have available to you, it starts to impact how you think, right? So people believe that credit is just imaginary money, right? And I think because it's not a physical object that you're losing, it begins to lose its value in terms of importance. And when you don't have the importance of the physical thing leaving you, your physical possessions just getting extracted from you, it removes the consequences that can follow, right? So at least when there was gold at one point, the exchange was very clear, right? If you want an item, you're going to have to give me gold. You're going to have to give me, a cow. You're going to have to give me something of value and provide that thing of value. And I have to deem it valuable enough for whatever service or item that I plan to give you, right? But now with credit being available, you don't necessarily have that thing. I can just tell you, hey, I'll get you on the next, right? And just give me like a month to pay it, right? And now, you tell that person, they believe you, they trust you, they say, okay, cool, no problem. So you go back, and if you don't have that money, then you probably can't go back. And that's people just kind of trying to run away from their debts and, Chapter 7 and start trying to get bankrupt. Or, you end up in the position where you're so in debt that you put yourself in a position that's not great, right? Where you can end up getting, in some serious, serious trouble. Nowadays, it's just garnering your wages, but back in the days, you might get, an assassin or something on your head. So when we talk about those two things and having the ability for the financial side to give you an opportunity to just spend that and use that credit at such a young age and not have the direct consequences of that credit be necessarily physical and direct in that way, unless unless they start sending you to jail for it. But outside of that, they can never collect their money if they send you to jail. So now you're in that position, and some people are like, well, the government may catch me or something along those lines. And now we have a situation where the market gets saturated because those of us that have been in the market a little bit longer and have accrued such massive debts are stuck in the job market because they have to pay off those debts. Hold on. And being stuck causes you to be in workforce longer, and it removes the opportunities for those that are trying to come up behind you in order to leverage their skills and what they learned in college and in their trade. And now it causes for a bottleneck of people not leaving in the way that they're coming. And the opposite, people coming in, there are also not people leaving at that same rate. And when you see that happen, employers start to say, well, I got to start targeting the group that I don't know. And they begin to deem us as unemployable, right? Without even giving us the proper chance in order to use the degree that we took huge amounts of debts for and to actually apply the skills that we learned, due to the fact that college has become less about the education and more about creating an environment that provides the most money. It changes the whole narrative. Now going to college is just a place where you can send your kids off to learn something, but they're really there to just socialize and party. And like, that's the part that you have to understand early too, is that college is a networking thing. It's not just about your books, right? Because at the end of the day, your degree can only take you so far, especially if you're not coming out with anything higher than like a 3.5 out of college. You're really getting to a point where you can't really leverage that degree in the same way. So you got to leverage that network. But now those that are even at that level with those degrees, they're even deemed unemployable just because of the narrative in the media. And this is what the video that we're going to be watching is going to be kind of talking about. So let's get into it.
Bureau of Labor Statistics. New Gen Z workers make up the highest share of the unemployed in nearly 40 years, with only 30% of recent graduates securing full-time jobs in their field of study. Yet despite 98% of HR leaders claiming they struggle to find talent, 89% refuse to hire Gen Z, raising the question, why is the most educated generation in history becoming ghosted by minimum wage jobs? Well, you'd think that with each modern generation facing a worse job market than their parents, with nearly half of the entire workforce unable to afford even a minimal quality of life, that as Gen Z voices their frustrations over facing the worst entry-level job market in nearly 4 decades, the worst layoffs since the Great Recession, the second straight year of historic job revisions, the majority of H-1B approvals actually going to entry-level positions, only to then be told the job market has never been stronger, that all of this decay would finally be enough to force a nation to confront a system that has failed generation after generation. But instead, society refuses to evolve, dismissing it all as laziness and entitlement.
They don't want to work. They're spoiled brats. They've grown up in a world where it's everyone gets a trophy generation, and like the idea of showing up and going through traffic and being at the office at 8:45 and working till 6, they look at you like you got 10 heads.
First of all, who endorsed that mindset? Right? You guys have to keep in mind, we didn't just... First of all, I definitely didn't grow up that way. Second of all, the incentives and the removal of that level of competition was due to those in positions of power at that time, and encouraging people to be this inclusive, having this inclusive mindset, having this idea of there's never a loser, when at the end of the day, people got to understand that there are losers in this world. And if you lose, you got to be able to lose properly, but you always want to strive to win. And when you do that and create that mindset, and now you want to blame the generation for that, what does that say about you? How did you guys want to instill this mindset and now try and say it's a bad thing? Come on.
Do it. They think everything's on a silver platter, so it's very hard to motivate these people. They're
No
really
incentives.
lazy, entitled losers.
So while Gen Z will apparently be forced to endure the same stereotypes as every previous generation, the reality is that this employment crisis largely stems from the complete gutting of entry-level jobs. Despite overwhelming evidence that AI is nowhere near fully automating the job market, with MIT finding that 95% of generative AI pilots at companies are failing, alongside the majority of AI layoffs now resulting in rehires, a survey of more than 600 recruiters worldwide, with over half coming from Fortune 100 or Fortune 500 companies, found that 1/3 of employers are nevertheless replacing entry-level jobs with AI. Even if those responses were simply an attempt to inflate investor confidence and boost stock prices, a separate Resume.org survey found that by 2027, 47% of employers expect to eliminate entry-level roles entirely, which means that whether AI actually works and unemployment skyrockets, or it completely backfires and results in a reduction in household wealth worse than 2008, the outcome remains the exact same as it always has. The burden falls on the generation entering the workforce. To better understand the long-term repercussions eliminating entry-level jobs has on Gen Z and the future of the job market, I spoke with Brian Creeley, a corporate recruiter, hiring manager, HR professional for some of the world's largest companies, career coach, and creator of the YouTube channel, A Life After Layoff.
The funnel into an organization is really supposed to be, you give people the baseline opportunities to not only just learn the technology and demonstrate those skills so that they can move into more advanced roles in an organization, but it's also to learn corporate culture. That base level is, you're supposed to be sitting in those meetings with the more senior people and taking notes and observing through osmosis. And if they're going to eliminate that entire thing, what is the leadership going to look like? The senior level positions in an organization in 5 years, in 10 years. At the same time, they're also eliminating the middle managers. So,
you know, it's crazy. I do think that there's companies relying on their experienced workers to just never leave, right? Like, they're relying on these people to stay in the workforce till 70, 80, 90, you know, until the point where not working in your older years is not an option. Right. And I know people are saying, especially those, you know, in the older generation, they're saying, well, I mean, technology has made it so easy for me to work. I mean, why do I need to stop? Right. And a lot of the people that are in these senior positions have the ability to use their technology, work from home, use their seniority to say, hey, like, you know, during COVID, I was working from home. I performed in a pretty well state. So now I should be able to continue working from home because it doesn't necessarily lead to a detriment to the company. So now it removes the incentives even for the mentors and those that are supposed to actually train the younger generation. It removes the incentives for them to even be in the office, because then at the end of the day, they can just stay home, still produce the work and still produce the financial capabilities that their roles entail, and not have to worry about training some younger person because they have the AI models and the, you know, stupid PowerPoint trainings. And now you're kind of stuck like, yo, like, I kind of wanted to know the ins and outs of the trade, right? One thing that I even learned just being in Men's Warehouse, right? That was one of my first jobs. I had this manager or lead that had been working there for a very long time. And he took me under the ropes and really taught me how to properly sell, right? There were certain things, even just selling a suit, that translated over into other parts of business that because he was there and had been selling suits for over 20, 30 years, when there was actual commissions and incentives to sell a suit, those skills were able to actually get passed down and the training was worth it, right? Because at the end of the day, that insider knowledge, being able to connect with people, being able to leverage the conversation to lead to something further down the line, that's something that, unless you're taught and the ins and outs and understand what it is, even though, you have YouTube and things like that, having that in-person training is completely different, right? He would be with me at certain times when I'm making certain sales and jump in and out just to show me like, yo, like, when this person says like, oh, like this tie is looking like really good, like I really like this tie, you leverage that and say, you know what, it's actually going to work well with that tie. Let me show you this pin over here or this pocket square over here so that it can match the tie and now it heightens your outfit, right? Or let me get you this suit jacket that's also going to complement this tie in order for you to say, you know what, the ladies are going to think you're a GQ model, bro. Like, you start hitting them with stuff, and those little details that boost people's confidence and builds those extra connections, you lose when senior management is at home on their computer and just saying, figure it out with the PowerPoint slides.
It's like you're being squished. And now you've got these senior level people. These executives are loving it because they get to, they get to make money rain, they get their bonuses and all this stuff. But I don't know if they're actually thinking through the big picture of you're eliminating the development of the youngest generations, and you're also eliminating the middle manager positions for these senior level people to move into. So now you're basically creating a single band of people who are stuck in a very narrow range of roles. That's not entry level, that's not leadership, it's in between. And then you've got this executive kind of like sitting up in an ivory tower making these decisions. So what's it going to look like in 10 years from now when there is that crunch and now all these senior executives are retiring?
And while the lack of investment and gutting of entry-level jobs existed long before the AI race, the unfortunate reality is Gen Z is also competing for these limited positions against older, more experienced, and overqualified workers being forced to accept entry-level pay. According to Stanford's Digital Economy Lab, employment among Gen Z workers aged 22 to 25 declined by 16% in the occupations most exposed to artificial intelligence, while older workers in those same occupations continued filling those roles instead. Today, 2/3 of all entry-level roles are filled by workers with over 7 years of work experience, while 61% of full-time entry-level positions require 3 to 5 years of experience. The Federal Reserve suggests this could be the result of decades of career and wage stagnation, as traditional routes for career advancement, such as job hopping, now provide little financial benefit, ultimately creating a compressed career ladder where 52% of graduates are underemployed within a year of graduation, while a study by the Burning Glass Institute found that 73% will remain underemployed a decade later.
The candidate who's coming into that interview who maybe had that capability, who has that competency, who has that potential, just doesn't have a resume to prove it, now has that stigma going against them of like, well, you're not hireable. You're not good. You're not going to be a good fit for us. Because I've heard those conversations. I've heard hiring managers making stories up about people based on what's on their resume or what they've achieved in the past. And they start creating these stories. Well, this guy's not hireable. This guy's not promotable. He didn't get promoted at his last job. If he was truly a high performer, why didn't this other company or these other two companies ever recognize their capability? And I would like look at them and say, like, how do you know what this person has or hasn't done or is capable of without even looking at them? Just you're telling a story. Maybe the whole story isn't on a piece of paper. Maybe the whole story isn't my bias toward what I think this candidate career should have looked at like, because when I started my career, things looked a lot different.
And to prove just how deep the stigma actually is, LinkedIn's own algorithm has been shown to suppress profiles with employment gaps, while ATS services and job platforms suppress or automatically reject applicants working lower wage jobs such as grocery store clerks or restaurant servers because in the eyes of many employers, they signal class, resulting in a labor market where Gen Z is fundamentally trapped in a cycle of low-paying jobs with little opportunity for advancement.
I mean, I do, but like, I just don't understand how you look at a resume and you say, okay, this kid is 18, 19, let's say 22, just came out of college. And let's say he's just working regular job at, Home Depot or something, right? What did you expect him to do right out of college? What other jobs did you really expect him to get right out of that position? Because at the end of the day, I have to start somewhere. There's nothing else that I can do unless I get like some kind of license or some kind of additional trade, which I think is something that most young people are going to have to do in order to, let's say, capitalize, especially those that are coming up now. In order for you to capitalize on your actual degree and maybe make yourself stand out a little bit, is try and get a certification in something. Try and get a license in something. Try and just get an additional skill or trade that you can use to leverage to say, hey, like I'm not only going to school, I'm working, but I'm also studying to get a license in this particular field. Or I'm studying to work in this particular trade, and it may allow you to not only get more potential job opportunities, but it can also lead to a position where the employer is like, okay, like I can see you're putting in the extra effort, you're putting in the work, you're putting in the time to gain other skills relative to the field, and is going to start to help you in the future, right? So these are the kind of things that you're going to have to start using in order to kind of separate yourself in the market. But at the end of the day, this is where working twice as hard in order and for less of the incentives, it makes no sense. It makes no sense to do so.
Today, Gen Z accounts for 55% of all multiple job holders, the highest share of any generation in well over a decade, leaving 83% reporting burnout, while 61% have delayed or avoided preventative health screenings. And while I totally understand delaying medical care due to the concern of cost or time, take it from me, someone who was told by 2 separate doctors that spitting up blood was not an issue and almost died in his apartment due to actually having undiagnosed factor V, that your health is the most important thing in your life. Which is why I'm very grateful to be partnered with today's sponsor, ZocDoc. ZocDoc is the leading healthcare marketplace that has more than 150,000 providers within 200 plus specialties across all 50 states, making it easy for you to find and book the healthcare provider that fits your needs. Each month, millions of people use their completely free service via ZocDoc.com or the ZocDoc app to search for care and book instantly. ZocDoc's website has tons of reviews from real patients and detailed doctor profiles, so you can feel confident in making the right decision. And unlike other services, you can actually see appointment openings and click to instantly book, with appointments usually happening within 24 to 72 hours or even on the same day. Please do not let a health emergency be your wake-up call to prioritize your health. And I know that it may seem small, but just clicking the link in the description and exploring the care for you is a huge step towards valuing your health. So head over to ZocDoc.com/Damon Cassidy to get started and check that appointment off your to-do list. Thank you, ZocDoc, for partnering with the channel.
At least even an ad on YouTube. Like, you get quality content before you start smacking me in the face with an ad. Like, come on.
And unfortunately, just as millennials were told to simply learn to code, rather than having an honest conversation about collapsing entry-level jobs, crushing student loan debt, competition against older workers, rampant automation, and the rising cost of living, society's solution for Gen Z has simply become go into the trades. Despite having spent years covering the decline of vocational education and the stigma surrounding blue-collar work, I still believe the trades are an excellent career path for many people. but pretending that they can absorb an entire generation will only recreate the exact same bottlenecks that white-collar workers are already facing. A new Wallet Hub study, ranking the best and worst entry-level jobs in America, found that trade careers dominate the bottom of the list based on immediate opportunity, growth potential, and job hazards, while also ranking among the nation's least happy occupations.
All right, so let's see. So,
But more importantly,
no.
Job hazards, while all.
All right, so unhappiest electrician? Wow. I would have never thought that. Well, I guess the opportunity and the amount of repairs that electricians do are probably a little bit less. I mean, you're going to be wiring stuff all the time. Psychiatric aid. I mean, you get in hell all day. Social worker, construction worker. Wow, some of these video game quality tester? Whoa, what do they do? I'm shocked. Well, I'm assuming you're gonna just get all the bugs and all the trash out of the game, so doesn't really help, but or at least make the job fun because you're playing all the trash in the games. But wow, okay.
Also ranking
Game developers, though, they're the happiest. I mean, the way that these games are pumping out, of course they're happy. They get to just use AI most of the time and then, give you BS games that don't even make sense. And at least the indie games are, are moving up in the world right now. But dog photographer. If you make good money doing that, I mean, you're just shooting pictures of dogs all day.
Among the nation's least happy occupations. But more importantly, nearly every single one of my friends who are in the trades have recently been telling me that if they were to enter their trade today, without their years of experience, their industry connections, or overall reputation, they are convinced they would not be able to find a job because of increased competition and an overall economic downturn in their industry. So while Gen Z has effectively become the test dummies for AI in both classrooms and entry-level careers, only to be turned around and called lazy and entitled, despite working more jobs simultaneously than any previous generation, with society's only real solution becoming go into the trades, it is crucial that if we care at all about the future of our nation and the children who have no idea the economy they're about to inherit, we begin having honest conversations about how to actually course correct before another generation is forced to pay an even worse price.
Unfortunately, I know people are not going to want to hear this, but I think that this is going to be the new norm. Like, I don't think that we're going to return to a job market. Like, some people are like holding out, like, well, eventually things will improve. They may, because things break completely and you have to rebuild. But like, what's the pain involved in that? That's a much bigger, like, Great Depression level kind of event. I know some people will throw out like, well, we just need universal basic income. I have my own strong opinions about that. There's not necessarily a clear end game that looks great, and like I'm not trying to be doom and gloom about this. I do think that there's still, if you take faculty of your own career, you're really driving things. You treat it like you are the CEO of a business of one. You build multiple. People don't like to hear this, but you got to build multiple streams of income so that you're not beholden to any one single paycheck and single employer.
Well, I mean, that's what you have to. You have to start creating that financial freedom, right? And at the end of the day, the incentive to create financial freedom is a lot higher now. So it's not just like you can go to work, get a job, work at that job for 20, 30 years, and you'll be set for life. Unfortunately, that idea of a life is not necessarily going to work. Unless you're already in a high-paying job or a skilled trade, that I think one of the only positions that I can potentially see outside of like a game developer, like a cybersecurity analyst or something along those lines, where you're in a good high-paying position and you're able to grow within that market. If you're not able to get that, the next best thing is probably going to be nursing or medical, just because of the fact that like you're going to need the physical bodies there until I guess they try and replace them with AI. But in order for them to do that, that's going to be long in the future. So those are probably the two, I still think, strongest trades or skills that will push forward without having to have multiple streams of income in order to gain that financial freedom, right? In order to get into a position where you're like, you know what, I'm comfortable and I don't think I have to worry about bills and, so on and so forth. Like, you really got to be able to play the game and use all your abilities in the game, right? You can't just try and rely on your physical attack, your skills, with your one skill set. You got to start using some of the spells, you got to start using some of the enhancements, and you got to start using some of the things that can help you maximize your output and maximize what you can, gain.
That you're not knee-jerk reactioning. You actually build your career with an actual strategy. There is a process to do that. And so many people do not do that, mainly because they're never taught that in university or wherever. They kind of just it's like throwing the baby bird out of the nest and saying, figure it out yourself. And most people, not surprisingly, don't really do a good job of that. But I just don't see that this is a fixable problem without there being a wholesale change in how we approach, like, and I'm not just saying like we as the job seeker, I'm saying is like society looks at what role the human being plays in where we want this society to go in the future.
And so what I hope that we're beginning to recognize is that as a society, if we have any desire to have the future be just a little bit better than today, to have the future be just a little bit better than the past 4 decades, we have to stop putting these blanketed statements on every single massive systemic decay that has been causing issues for as long as we can remember. I just cannot understand for the life of me how every generation emerging into adulthood, at least every modern generation. No, really, I mean, I'll show you, there's a quote from Plato discussing older workers or older people saying that young people are lazy. But the unfortunate reality is that as a society, instead of these older workers or each generation during their period of time, instead of pointing up at the people that are actually undercutting their wages or making them work more hours for less pay, or reducing retirement benefits, reducing paid time off, aren't able to keep up with the cost of living, or reducing health insurance benefits, you name it. Instead of pointing at the people actually doing the issues, what better person to point your fingers at than the little guy that has no power to stand up for themselves? And the biggest thing that I really cannot understand is that when you hear a hiring manager or somebody, say they're traditionally in their 50s or so, the people that really have power to be making these decisions, the people on the news, pumping out these headlines, when they say the young generation is lazy and entitled, the likelihood of that 55-year-old individual saying that, having a kid that is graduating from college or already has, is unbelievably high. So are you saying the reality is that every Gen Z is lazy except for your kid? Are you saying that you had absolutely no responsibility in helping parent the future generation? How do you point at young kids and say, yeah, they're addicted to social media or to their phone? Who handed them their phone? Older adults, do we have no responsibility for the country and the reality that we're a part of? You're telling me that every single systemic decay falls on the little guy. Or falls on all these other things, right? Like a massive narrative is that the entire job market is collapsing because of minimum wage, right? Like that is a real argument. I get that on every single one of my videos. So it's blanketed statement after blanketed statement after blanketed statement, and we fail to recognize that we are all experiencing the exact same thing.
And I do think too, like, there has to come a point where you, even at that older generation, there has to come a point where you're like, well, are they really lazy, or is there any opportunity? You know what I'm saying? Like, is there the opportunity without them build? Because you have to keep in mind, if I gotta make money in order to pay my bills or in order to do anything, right, I would have to work a job, which would be the 9 to 5. But in order to create that level of income to where I could potentially save up to afford buying a house, right now the average house price is what, 400,000, right? That's across the nation maybe. And in New York, it's at least $750,000. So in order for me to even have enough money for that down payment, unless it's gifted to me, I'm going to have to work a second job in order to get the income that I want, right? Or I have to stay at my parents' house a lot longer than what the previous generations had and save up my money in order to get the house that I want. So the opportunities that we have going into like the workforce are definitely not the same. Like back in the day, you could probably get an apartment for like $500, a nice studio apartment for $500, $700. Like that's a completely different environment, right? You actually can leverage the job that you have, pay your bills, and then still with the job that you have, as you're growing through your entry-level position and then getting to that next mid-level position, now that $500, $900 rent that you were paying, you know, isn't as much because you were able to save along the way. You were able to save a lot more instead of what the current generation is able to save, right? And now that we're forced to work even more hours with less PTO, it starts to get to a point where it's like, yo, I can't even build that second stream of income, even if I wanted to.
The thing that makes me the most sad out of all of this is that, you know, Gen Z, as a generation, we have the opportunity to genuinely make a difference because we recognize the issue. We are at the age to where we are being vocal about it. It's kind of bad enough that we have to address it. Mm-hmm. And so what we have to do is we have to not only pay the burden of previous decades of economic mismanagement, but we also have to start envisioning the future. But the unfortunate reality is that as a generation, predominantly, again, not every single person, but predominantly, we've lost hope. We've already given up. There's a reason why Gen Z is called the nihilistic generation. And so if you have already given up and you have no hope, then we're grouped right in with every other generation.
Yeah.
And the very frustrating thing from myself, because again, like I'm going to address the systemic issues. I'm then going to come on and I'm going to do something like this at the tail end of the video because I want to give you in-person, one-on-one kind of, why does this matter? And then at the end of the video, I address, hey, these are things that we can do. Now, I can't not necessarily address, hey, here's how you face decades of economic, destruction of entry-level jobs. There isn't just a solution I can give you for that. And I hope that you kind of recognize that there are individual things that you could do to help better your opportunities of getting a job. Like Brian with a Life After Layoff has plenty of those things on his channel. But what I do here is I just try to talk about the systemic issue. And to be able to fix a systemic issue, because we're not the ones writing the policy and we're not the ones making the corporate decisions, is we have to change our attitude and our desire to make things better. We are the ones that have each other's hands around each other's throats. We're the ones not making decisions in our own lives. And so what I do is...
Well, I also think too that when you are in a position that is comfortable, and even those that are excelling at that rate, you start to have the idea of like, yo, like this is about me. Like I made it. Like I'm out of here. Like I'm not worried about anybody else. Like it's just me, right? Finally, you hit that point where you're like, I'm financially free. I don't have to worry about anything. Like I can just chill and do what I got to do for myself. And that's why a lot of the younger generation as well has been spending their money in a way where it's like, YOLO, like I'm getting this job, I'm making this money, I can survive on my own, and not maybe thinking about how you can further impact the society around you in a positive way so that, you know, others, not only in your generation, but others further down the line. And I do think there has to come a point where we start to see more Gen Z involved in politics, involved in the political scene, and start to make our way into those positions, because at the end of the day, you know, without the highly intelligent, without the people that can actually make policy changes ahead of time rather than it being too late, you know, all of Congress is full of 50, 60, 70-year-old people. And it's like, at what point are they even really considering the younger generation? Like, yeah, sure, they have children, they have kids, but they already have the mindset that we're not good enough, we're too lazy, we're stuck on our phones, we're unable to separate ourselves and become something great. So they don't really care. They're just gonna make policies so that they can live on longer and capitalize on their opportunity. But at some point, as a generation, we have to start saying, yo, guys, you guys are not really looking out for us right now, and we gotta follow in your footsteps, right? We gotta follow in your footsteps. So the trail that you're leaving right now is not one that's really beneficial for us. And we gotta start making these changes now, or you might just lead us right off a cliff, right? So it's at a point where, you know, you're starting to see people like Nick Shirley, for example, going out there, making content, bringing to light a lot of the things that people and narratives have been pushing, yet there's the opposite side where you start to see a little bit behind the curtain, right? You actually start to see what's going on and how the political scheme and the government is starting to impact your life in a way that is not beneficial to you, and they're not thinking about you, right? So I think that's the overall goal, is to have those and to continue to speak out, continue to create the narrative, and to continue to motivate yourself as well as others to get in a position where they can make a change, leverage their abilities, leverage their skills, and understand all the issues that are going on currently. And try and say, you know what, let's start making a change, and let's start shifting the mindset back towards mentoring those that are younger than us, training those that are in a position to do great, you know, and competing at a high level in order to, you know, make it. And so that for yourself, as well as the younger generation coming up, they have an opportunity, and maybe the opportunity may be better.
I say, hey, these are ways that you can do agency, and here's why you should have hope, and, you know, do this or do this. Try to look at this through your personal life. When was the last time you talked to your neighbor? When was the last time you had these conversations? And so then I offer things of, hey, make sure that you go out and vote. You know, one of the reasons that this happened was because there was no Gen Z turnout. And then what comments do I receive? There's no point in voting. Voting doesn't do anything, so why would I waste my time?
Voting is crucial.
And so then I go into my friends, right? Because you would say, well, you know, go touch grass. So I go talk to my friends. Not a single one of them will vote either. Okay, so voting isn't an option. So then I do something like, hey, here's a petition that we're trying to work on. You know, this is what we're trying to do and raise awareness. And then what comments do I receive? The petition isn't going to do anything. Everything sucks. There's no hope. Why would I even waste my time? Okay.
But you see, we can't be so negative to the point where there's people taking action and doing the things necessary in order to make our position better, and we're just ignoring it. Ignoring it is not going to help, right? So we gotta start looking at the ideas like, listen, like, I gotta be here a little longer. You know, the technology, I'm gonna hopefully live to 70, 80. That's a good amount of time. That's a nice chunk of change. And you know, you got some time on your hands. God willing, nothing happens to you. You're gonna have a good amount of time on this earth. So why don't you start leveraging that time now? Helping those that are trying to make a change and actually make something better for you and make opportunities easier for you, so that gap, that enormous gap, can maybe start to shrink just a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Share the love just a little bit. So now I go
to my friends and I start talking about this, and they say nothing's going to change. Okay, so we're not going to vote, and we're not going to do petitions. So then I do this, I help promote this thing to raise awareness for the pursuits of raising awareness for humanity versus AI, that we need to prioritize humanity over all of these other things. And we have to get our policymakers to actually start regulating these things and work on the different aspects of what it is that's going on. What do I receive? It's never going to do anything. Why would I even bother? Our policymakers don't do anything. It's just greed. It's just corruption. They don't care about us. All right. I go to my friends. Hey, what do you think that's going on? I get nothing. Okay. So I continuously go around and I try to talk to people in real life. There's nothing. But you know what it is that we do talk about is we talk about the basketball game. We talk about soccer. We talk about the celebrity, the next movie, right? We talk about all of these things, but everything actually impacting our lives, we refuse to have conversations about. And so now I'm in this position to where I'm thinking, okay, so we're not going to vote. We're not going to do petitions. We're not going to do, any sort of movement or to get our representatives interacting. I talk about, hey, let's do these boycotts. Nope, we're not going to do that either because, that's not going to work. Okay. I talk about, hey, maybe we need to start talking about creating a better form of unions. Oh, unions are just bad. It's never going to work. So I'm at this point where every single time I produce or I try to mention something and I try to talk about agency within your own life and all of these different things, all I'm now getting is an overwhelming tsunami of why it's not going to work. The unfortunate reality is that if you have a little brother or little sister or a little son or daughter or grandson or granddaughter, that in a decade and 15 years from now, we are going to hear the exact same thing from them, that there's no entry-level jobs. And they're going to look at us and they're going to say that we had it so easy. They're going to be upset that we didn't do more for them. And it's a travesty. That is going to be such a sad reality. If we're deciding that that is the path that we're going to go on, that there is no hope, that there's no chance for unity. There's no chance for anything that we can do. I think at the end of the day, that's an individual decision that we're making. I don't think anybody is forcing us to decide that. Yep. But the fact of the matter is that, yes, things will not get better if we give up. There's no incentive for the people in power to have things get better. No. But there's a lot of incentive for us to demand that from them. Going back to the societal stigma, my mom is a hairstylist, and so she has many, many, many clients. I hear this all of the time. They come in and they say, so what do your sons do? She'll be like, well, my youngest son works at a hardware store and my oldest son is a YouTuber. And she receives, oh, I'm so sorry. She's like, why? She's like,
oh, I'm so sorry. What? What does that even mean? Do people not understand the low money that people make on YouTube on these videos? What are we talking about? Oh, I'm so sorry. Come on. What?
When is your son ever going to get a real job? Referencing me.
That's crazy.
When is your son ever going to move out of your when is your son ever going to move out of your basement? I've been living on my own for 5+ years. I'm sorry that your son isn't taking life serious. Kids these days, right? It's the most insane thing. They have no idea what it is that I'm talking about. They never ask. They never have, they don't actually have any interest whatsoever. And so what do they turn around and do? Well, they use the entire appointment with my mom to just complain about their own kids and how their own kids aren't participating in society and all of these different things. And then, my mom will ask, so what is it that you're doing? And the parent says, I've already given up.
What?
The kid's like 14. I've already.
What? Oh my gosh. Oh. Listen, as much as technology has connected us, it has also disconnected us, and it has caused for this mindset of just every man for themselves. We are literally out in the wild right now. It's literally the wild, wild west right now. And there's just craziness and mayhem happening all over the place. You have all the distractions in the world, anything that can take you away from the reality and what is happening around you. And you're just saying, you know what? I'm just going to do what I want, and I don't really care who it affects. that has to be because that's the only way that you even get to the point where you have a 14-year-old kid and you say, I already given up. How'd you already give up? This man's life just started. This girl's life just started. This is prime development years, prime time to say like, yo, like we got to start locking in. Like you're going into high school, you got to start locking in so that you're either looking to create a business or because if you don't do that, they're going to be so far behind and then they're just going to give up on their kids. Or they may not even have kids because they're like, well, what's even the point? Listen, guys, this shit is crazy.
It's in my incentive to do the best that I can to try to help out that person, to help out all of the Americans and all of the people worldwide that are facing these issues that maybe don't have the opportunity to even think about these things or speak about these things, to say it. And so what I need from you is to believe it, to have hope, to see these things and want to make a difference, to not just give up. And, you know, I don't know. Last night I filmed this video and filmed it until 2:30 in the morning. Wake up this morning, it turns out that the audio didn't record, right? It's so fantastic. And so now I'm doing this on the 4th of July. I am late to where it is that I'm supposed to go. And I need to get this video out. And I just hate sitting here thinking that it's not doing anything. And again, I know it's helping those individuals out there. But and that is, again, why I'm doing it. But for the overall tone of my generation, I just don't see where the voices are out there that are saying, hey, let's not give up. And I don't know. So, you know, again, are the trades a great opportunity for you? Absolutely, but not for everybody. We have to start talking about what are things that we can do to fix the system, not just ways we can succeed individually. Fix the system.
And that's something that, you know, I always preach, right, guys? Like, it's all about the system. It's all about the way that you play the game, understanding the game, and how can you leverage the game. That's the whole point in this channel, right? You always got to stay glitched out. And the reason why is because the system is working against you currently. It's not allowing you to have the opportunities that you should have access to. You have a right to. And in order for you to gain that right, you have to start thinking outside of the system. You have to start thinking, how can I help not only the younger generation, but how can I start affecting the system so that it can start working for me? That's the point, right? The system is supposed to help us get to a point where the system continues and there's progress, right? But the way that the system is leveraging and just constricting and putting that foot on top of the generation below it, it has to get to a point where you're like, no, like, get this big, heavy ass boot off my neck. Because at the end of the day, if we don't glitch out this system, if we don't get a way to leverage it and make sure that it's working for us, it is going to be, you know, the level of work, effort, and things that people are going to need to do in order to even succeed, and what even is going to be deemed as success. And I also think that's another thing. The level of where success is right now causes for people to say, oh my God, I need everything. It feeds into the consumerism. It feeds into the greed, right? All the ads, all the pop-ups. And you're just like, yo, what is happening? They're taking away your your physical media for video games, right? And that's the part that people also don't understand. Things that happen in gaming, whether you like it or not, is what happens later on down the line in other parts of the economy, right? When you're talking about stripping away that physical media, how did it lead to a lot of these other subscription-based platforms? I mean, I believe that Xbox Live, unless I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Xbox Live and PS3 or PS Plus, which was free at the time, initially, both of those systems didn't create the subscription, but the subscriptions were a place where you can get content and then create a marketplace around that content, right? And now you're stuck because in order for you to achieve that content, you're going to have to pay that subscription. And they can add on ads, add all these other things to get you to buy all these little microtransactions, which are the same thing as Netflix initially having a free streaming platform and then raising it to $8, and then now taking the ad resistant part of that platform and putting it behind a paywall. So all these little microtransactions, advertisements, and incentives to buy completely distract you from how you should be saying, like, yo, guys, you guys got to take a break. You guys got to pump the brakes on all of this. I understand you're trying to make money, but at what point are y'all looking out for me? At what point am I going to want to potentially pass down a video game to my kid and say, hey, like, yo, this game was great. We're going to have to play this, and be able to just put it in the console, load it up, and just be able to play the game because I own that physical copy of the game. Some of these games that, like, let's say like a Black Ops or something like that, if that's fully online with no physical disc, if they decide to shut down the service for it, are you going to be able to access the campaign? Are you going to be able to access zombies? Are you going to be able to access certain other portions of multiplayer, just even split screen? You start putting these games on these digital platforms, and now you lose ownership. And these are the certain things that, you know, as the generations progress, as time progresses, we have to start looking out for. We have to start saying, like, guys, like, this is not working. You know, the family court system, that's another thing, right? The way that the family court system is built right now, it's causing for men to really think, like, I don't know if I really want to get into this whole family business. Because at the end of the day, family is a business. You know, two people get married, that's what you hope the process is. You have two people that get married and, you know, they have kids, and those kids are supposed to now, you know, help create the wealth and success of the family. So at the end of the day, it's going to be a business and it's a partnership that you're getting into, and the incentive to get into that with the consequences that follow. And men are very logical creatures, regardless of, you know, education status. Sometimes, you know, a lot of men can still say, you know what, like, the pros are not really outweighing the cons in this situation, right? But I don't want to make this completely negative. I do think that there's opportunities. I do think if we continue to speak on these topics, if we continue to leverage, you know, the technology that's there, the knowledge that people have, and help push those that are actually trying to make change, I think we can have a light at the tunnel. We can start to deviate from the path and the footsteps that the previous generation has left us, and maybe start to deviate in a path that actually leads to, you know, better places, and better places for those that are coming up in the future. You know, I know a lot of people have a lot of faces now, a lot of power, a lot of influence, and if the influence can go away from being such a negative influence, which I know is the captivating portion of the internet, but it starts to move towards that positive influence, I think there could be a potential shift and start to see that motivation for people to want to do more. But that's that video. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe, you know, and as always, stay glitched. Out. You know what I'm saying? Because shit. All right. So those are the two videos that I had for you guys today. Let me just finish
and so,
this up, see what his last
you know,
points are.
I hope that this was able to provide some sort of value to you, and you know, I greatly appreciate your support. And I'm sorry that I did take this time, I guess, to just complain, but I think it's really important that we hear the things that we're experiencing, and I think that this is a common narrative for a lot of different people.
Big facts, big facts, big facts, big facts. See, I would hop on some of these other ones, but let's go and get into. See, I've been thinking about playing some Street Fighter recently because I wore a Street Fighter shirt and someone was like, "You don't really play Street Fighter like that." I'm like, I mean, I play, but I haven't been playing in a long time. I do need to start learning the combos and getting back into it, because Street Fighter 6 is definitely a great game. I was thinking about getting Tekken. Tekken has intrigued me, but I already had bought Street Fighter 6 prior to Tekken, because I played Street Fighter a little bit more than Tekken. But I definitely do think, why is this not full screen? Don't understand that. This should be full screen, but oh my gosh. 10 to 20 minutes. Jeez. Alright, so I guess we're not doing that. Can maybe play some chess real quick. I don't know why I just opened up. Let's do. That's the league. I have no idea what that is. Been taking some L's recently. Let's just play a quick one. When people do this, it's like very interesting. I don't understand. Like, I know this is an opening, but like your whole white squared bishop is completely blocked off right now. But okay. Let's try this. Thinking. I think I want to put my bishop here instead of over here. I can also do that so that it could prevent him from moving up at all. That if he takes, we take here. Here. I can stay here. Should I support my queen or should I push this pawn? You can push this pawn, right? Let's just do this for now. Let's see how this turns out. Maybe also try and do put that there. Protecting broke bishops. I'll probably move that up. So, at some point. Anyways. So how do I do this? I mean this. Just move out the way. Pick my options. If he takes, I can take. Out. Take. Not gonna necessarily take there. Recapsule. Okay, so it goes that way. So I still think I have to do this. So it puts pressure. That's what you decided to do? Okay. That's protected. It's gonna... take this way. Bang. If he does that, let's say, so he moved back, which is interesting because if I do that, okay. Do I just push this and just kind of get him out of here, bro? What's the word? Is that crazy? See what that does. But Yeah, just sack my bishop. I feel like a sack of the bishop is definitely like sack of one of these bishops is definitely on the horizon. Oh wait, why didn't I just? Oh yeah, cause. Okay, so how do I do this? So now I think I should just. I think I sacked this freaking bishop right now. On the low. That's checkmate. Is it? I don't know if it is. I'm going for the sack. All right, let's try. Am I tweaking? Because he could go here. Is this not checkmate? No! Oh, fuck. So that was here, right? Fuck. Okay. Let me try. Let me try that. Let's see. Huh. So lost here. How do I fucking do this? Okay. Where can he even go? What? Hold on. So his only move. What is his own? What can he even do, bro? So he moves there. I don't even know why he resigned. The game is like nowhere near done. I mean, I guess I would probably go here, right? I mean, more likely than not, he would probably have to trade the queen. Because if he doesn't do that, he loses. I just don't see what he would have done outside of. If he does that, that does nothing. Can't check me. The rooks are basically useless. So you would have to trade here. You have to go here. You probably have to do like this. I just don't really see how he would have won. Let's see what the game review would have looked like though. Where was my brilliancy at? I didn't even play it perfectly, but where was my brilliancy at? I was thinking that too. Push that up there. Yeah, I was shocked he didn't do this. I thought he was gonna do that. Because that would have been a better trade for him. That's boom. I probably would have had to take here. Maybe is that a mistake? I want to see if that's a mistake. Okay, so I go here. Pressure on that piece. At that point, then I could just go. Is that a mistake? That's probably why my brilliance. I knew that sack, bro. That sack was lit. Oh, let me see. So I was winning. Oh wait, I don't know why I just do that. Could have just done that. Okay, so what's the next move? Mistake probably. Realistically, probably this. I mean, there's not really anything else. Yeah, I mean, that sack is coming though. Yeah.
Maybe your soul has a shadow ban. That's how you can't see there's a bigger plan. Execute it right, yeah. Got fingers to the cam, yeah. That's your one take. Show me how you do it, man. Hold up, take a pause from the grind. Last a movie, I directed in my mind. You must think that the answer's outside. It's inside you. You're looking for a find you won't find. I'm still working and it's fucking 5:30 in the morning. I'm active, that's a warning. It's fine, yeah. Check the archive, letting go boring.
No, what they just told him to do that.
Truth is not easy, I know, so people wanna spruce it up with something that is not. I like the realness, keeping it raw. Rough on the edges and you know what it's for, yeah. Counting blessings on the daily. Counting blessings, yeah, it saved me. Counting blessings on the daily, yeah. Counting blessings, yeah, it saved me. Counting blessings on the daily, yeah. Counting blessings, yeah, it saved me.
You know, that freaking. So now let's see. Okay, so he did that. I could have just still taken here. We would have to recapture back. Really? Okay, well, okay. I don't see the purpose. Peter, you're gonna show me what the next best move is? It's not. See, I don't understand why, like, chess.com doesn't show all the best moves. Like, oh, hold on, whoa. Oh wait, this is checkmate? What other option do I have here? Oh, so he's checkmated. Right? I mean, yeah, he's checkmated. Oh no, okay. So then how do I hit checkmate though? Where am I? Here? Oh. Bring him out to the center of the board. Make the play. Because I was like, there's no way I can't check. Like, so, okay, go back. It's like here. So instead of doing that, I just bring him up and then he comes here and then I collab him with that because that's already blocking. I knew I should have checkmated him there. Because you can't go there because the queen. I wasn't thinking. What? Street Fighter's back. We got a nice dub though. Got a nice dub. Took our time there. Turn this back on. Oh my gosh, the game's been okay.
Street Fighter 6.
I gotta make this full screen. That's crazy how it loads up like that. Getting. Oh wait, I should have done the options. I don't know what I was doing. Relax. Start putting this in. Hello? Oh. Let's get into the training. You see, like, and even this, like, I gotta buy all these characters, man. What happened to just unlocking characters, huh? Why don't I just play the game and unlock the character? Hey, bro, this is like a whole new roster, I guess. I guess it's like a whole new roster of characters. But like Bison, bro, like Bison's been in Street Fighter for how long? How you gonna put Bison behind a freaking paywall, dog? Like, come on, bro. What are we doing? See, I feel like I would play with him, though. Let's see. I haven't really found, like... I've kind of liked Jamie. Because, like, I've always done, like, kind of drunken master style, but, like, his base attacks... Not drunk be a little crazy. Jesus. Forgot they just start spamming the freaking... Try classic, because modern... Actually, let me try modern. Gotta go classic, because you don't even get the full character in modern. Pressing all them buttons, dog. Just turn this off. I just want straight hands right now. Getting combos. Regardless of the counter. Oh, I should have fucking counted that. Wait, what?
You know what they say? You rock the boat.
See, like, I feel like in Street Fighter, gotta start breakdancing on him. Oh! Hold on. Oh, every time. I'm used to going to KO every time. Oh, I went to Classic. That's why I've been using. Anyways, it's here. Some combo practice. Let me check these combos out. See, like, I never understood how you can get that many buttons in. I do need like the other base plate. So what is it? It's they like a short dash? I actually did that? I don't even know how I did that. Yo. Okay. That was it. That's really the close range stuff, but okay. See something, command list. What did I say? So it's this. There's no way you're telling me that that's not right. So, I don't understand how. Let's see how I can get that. So I know the LT can do that, but how do I get the drive impact? Oh, so it's just how do I do a regular drive rush though? How do I do a regular drive rush though? I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out where my drive rush is at though. This is gonna be bad work. Pretty good range. If I go. Say, why is it not drive rushing? No, me and Jury are kind of in sync right now. That's what I'm even looking at. I didn't even remove actually. I didn't even do a super with freaking Jamie. I'm about to say no way. I didn't know modern was like really that bad though. Let's just play a match. I really don't care at this point.
First online. Casual match.
I was playing as Akuma. I'll learn Akuma.
Jamie.
What?
Online. Casual match. Arcade. Online. Arcade. Online.
Dang, no one plays casual? Do people even still play this game? Shit, 105 already? Damn. Let's see. Probably gonna get cooked. But yeah. Oh, I should have countered that. Oh, I definitely put the... I didn't have the freaking gauge for it. I was waiting on that. I knew he was gonna do that. That's alright. Oh, I'm on modern? Oh, I might as well just play with modern then. Thought I was on freaking classic. My gosh. This man is just... Ugh, that's annoying. Oh. Wait. You're just spamming it. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I gotta start getting this reaction for this stupid... He's just spamming it. Yeah. No. Oh my god, bro, I really lost that. Oh, now you want to run, bro? After I started to make the comeback. After this, I want to switch to classic, though. Hello? Wait, why isn't it switching it? Go. Oh, this is a lot easier. I actually could see what these mean, because I don't know what any of that shit means. Interesting. How do I switch? Am I slow? Oh, there we go. Costume. Hate that yellow. Ooh. Let's try that. I don't know what any of those button presets mean. Yeah, I really wonder how many people are playing this game. I feel like I know it's like kind of out of its first year now, but for it to take that long. No, did I? Oh my gosh. I'm such an idiot. I'm such an idiot. Every time a freaking opponent comes, I freaking hit the wrong button. I'm gonna have to just play ranked. There's no way. Yeah. I ain't reaching that anyways. Because ranked, clearly people are playing ranked, so casual is a waste of time. What happened? Bro, why is it always this character? I feel like she's such like a... Oh, that was quick. my god. That was combo time. No. No. He's using the modern controls. I gotta start grabbing, bro. Definitely hit that freaking... Bro, why isn't it... Oh, I'm hitting the wrong freaking button. I'm like, I'm trying to hit this... I'm trying to hit this stupid... I was trying to freaking... Bro, I was trying to do that and I forgot I changed to classic, so it's not the same button. Sir. No. Am I really bugged, bro? Yes. Yes. Woo! Alright. Let's make this some. Oh my gosh. Gotta get better with this gauge, man. This gauge is not it, bro. Come on, that was a good one. Oh. Oh. That bailout. Oh my god. How do I freaking use this super, bro? This super would not come out, bro. It's freaking... And I literally was just training against this, like... No! I just need to do this super, bro. I need to figure out what this freaking super is, bro. I'm so trash. Oh, found it. And it's way too early for that, though. Oh, what happened? Oh. Wow. Just as I was starting to get good. Where did the interruptions come from? Yeah, he must have DDoSed or something. There's no way, bro. There's no way. Oh my gosh, bro. He started to see the end of the tunnel, man. He started to see that loss coming. There's no way. Because I was starting to learn. And he was spamming the same moves. See, that's the thing, though, is that, like, modern, I feel like you get so stuck in the same combo patterns that, like, you have to play classic. Like, I don't think there's any other way to play this game. But, all right, that was fun. I haven't played this in a minute, so that was cool getting into it. Obviously, I haven't gotten too far into this game, but I would definitely be running this up. I wonder how many players are still on this game. Let me see. How can I leave? So I can exit this out. Wait, why didn't it just exit me off the game? Hello? See, everything's so complicated in this game. No wonder I didn't play it. I was not there before, unless I just didn't see it. No, I just wonder how much. Hello? This game is also mad big, too. It's like 100 gig game. Kind of crazy. So for 100 gigs on my storage, I want to see its concurrent players right now. So I guess let's go to the store. I think that's where it is. And then let's go to Street Fighter 6. Okay. Show it at the bottom. What? Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like this right here is definitely something that's very annoying. Like I got to be able to earn it some way. Like let me see how much are the characters actually. You know, that's the base game. Hmm. But where's the probably not on the Steam store. Just gotta find it. But no, I definitely am gonna run this a little bit more, depending on how many people play this game still. But yeah. If y'all enjoyed the stream, make sure you like, subscribe, and as always, stay glitched.